Hey kids, this is Mrs. Sweeney, and I'm going to start you on your 1-point perspective. Here's a very nice sample by Katie Page when she was in 8th grade, and we're going to work this large. So I'm going to go ahead and take her off of here and replace it with a fresh piece. And we are going to be using an HB pencil in class so that it will be nice and black graphite, but it will be easy to erase and have a nice sharp edge to it. I'm going to use a softer pencil so you can see it a little bit easier. I'm also going to need a ruler to do my 1-point perspective. The first thing we're going to start with is a horizon line. And we're going to use something that artists call the rule of thirds, where we have things a little bit off center to make it interesting. And I'm going to go a little bit high in my background, and I'm going to try to eyeball it and get a fairly straight line. It doesn't have to go all the way from one side to the other, but most of it. I'm going to hold my ruler really still, take my ruler away, and I'm going to go ahead and label it with an H for horizon line. So it's kind of our eye level, so where we see the edge of the world kind of disappearing. So it's just a far, far away suggestion, like an illusion. And we're also going to have one vanishing point, because we're doing 1-point perspective, where everything, all these parallel lines are going to be converging to a far away point. And I'm going to kind of just eyeball it and kind of judge and get it right dead center. So let's see if I can do that. I'll put it right on the line. I'll try to make it big enough so you can see it, but it shouldn't be big like an M&M. It should be like a little point to make it as exact and precise as possible. And then we're going to label that. I'll just put a VP near it, and that means the vanishing point. And we're going to be looking at objects, like if this was an object, instead of being at a funny angle where I see the corners, we're going to have objects where we see like the flat shape, and then we're going to make them look 3D, give the illusion that they're going back in space. So what we're going to do is make a grid, which is very basic to linear perspective, and we're going to make it look kind of like a chessboard. So that would mean about 8 rows. What I'm going to do is take half of 8 rows, it would be about 4, and I'm going to drop it down. I got lots of room here, which is good. It's okay if it's a little bit off center, but I am going to try to make it as parallel, my edge of my ruler as parallel as I can to the top and bottom and all the horizontal lines that I have so far. And I'm going to go from 0 to 8. Oops, stop right there. I'm going to lower my ruler just a little bit, just so I can get it out of the way. And I've already got the 0 marked. I'm going to mark the 1 and the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 8 already. I went a little bit past that. Let me get it in a little bit. Okay. Now, those little increments, I'm going to need those because I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to make some connections. I'm going to always let my ruler kind of show me where to go. I'm going to put my pencil point on one of these points just to kind of anchor it, and then put my ruler gently up to it, kind of pivot my ruler, give myself a little bit of room for this pencil point to make sure I'm really going to hit it. And I usually like to start from the forward area in the foreground, and I'm going to take it back towards the vanishing point. Now I'm going to ease up a little bit and not draw quite so hard, but I do want you to see it. So there we go. And now I'm going to go over to the other side. This is very nice and handy right here. I'm going to put it right there, anchor it, and pivot to my vanishing point. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to do a little dry check, I call it, before I draw, and make sure it's really going to hit that spot, right in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to let it kind of ease up a little bit, because you never know, I might want to erase some of that in the future, like some of the students do. You know, sometimes some of your guidelines or construction lines are just to kind of build your shapes, but then you might want to take it away a little bit later on. Depends on what your ideas are. Now I also want to connect every one of these little increments from that front edge. And I'll try to do these as quickly as I can. You can take your time more, of course, when you're in class and you're wanting to get this right on the money the best you can. The more care you take in the beginning, the more satisfying it will be for you, because you'll have a better illusion. It's a little bit more convincing. It'll look like it's really going back in space. You want to try not to be careless with your lines or let your ruler shift on you. There's one more. Did see that one. Get right on it. Aim towards that vanishing point. Okay, so I have like 8 rows. Look like they're all just laying back going towards the vanishing point. Now, might not be very often you need to draw a checkerboard or a grid, but if you were trying to draw really realistic scenes, like we see them in real life, where things look like they're getting smaller as they go farther away, you know, this could turn into a garden. If you wanted to plant, let's say, rows of corn, this could be a real basic grid. You could go by as guidelines, and you could say, okay, I'm going to plant the seed here, 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 and like have them coming up, and it could be anything, okay? Turn into lots of things. Now, we're going to try to get the other rows going further and further away. Don't guess. There is a technique where we're going to kind of eyeball the first row, like how deep we think it looks as it falls away from us, you know, like the square falling back. And it ends up being a shape that's like kind of like a rhombus, where it almost looks like a kite. Let me see, let me get this piece of paper. Like if you had a kite, a traditional diamond kite, and it kind of, like you could do the little cross ties on it, and then it kind of falls on its side. We're going for this kind of shape. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line my ruler up on this horizontal line, and I'm going to pull it up. Now right now, that would be a really, really short, shallow row. I'm going to try to raise it up some more so that this shape looks like that falling kite, where if I was to put a little cross tie in there, it would look like they're meeting up nicely, not like all squished. So I think I'll pull it up a little bit more, kind of got to get in front of it. I'm kind of guesstimating here. That's pretty close there. And then before you draw your line, see if you can make it nice and horizontal, but also parallel to all the other horizontals that we have. Now, that was kind of a judgment call there. And here's my pretend little falling kite rhombus there. Now, here's the trick. This is going to be a guideline I'm about to draw, and it's probably a line that you're not going to want to keep, so do it lightly. And I'm going to take my ruler, and it's going to come from this corner, the very front corner, and it's going to line up to this intersection where the horizontal line and this converging line crisscross, where they intersect. And I'm going to keep that guideline going. It's going to hit first row, back of the second row, back of the third row, back of the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then eighth. When I get all the way to the other side, then that's the back of my, I guess you could say, checkerboard. So I'm going to line it up. Pencil's going to hit here in this corner, here in this corner. So here we go, a light guideline, but I'll have to make it dark enough so you can see it. All right. Here's the back of the first row. We've already got that established because there it is. And then if I keep this guideline going, right there, where it intersects and crisscrosses this converging line, that's going to be the back of the second row. But I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Here's the back of that row, back of this row, back of this row, back of that row. See, we're not guessing, it's showing us. And now I've just ran out of places, so I'm all the way to the back. Now I'm going to do something here that might help you understand. I'm going to, while I'm here, I'm going to rotate my ruler and see if I can get it so it looks really level, get my face in front of it, sorry about that. And then take it across. Now that's a keeper line. I'm going to do it dark enough so you can see it. That's the back of my checkerboard. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes we don't need these extra guidelines later. Now, where are all the rest of them? Well, don't guess. Now, some kids are pretty good at kind of faking it, and they like guess and make it look like it's getting smaller each time they make a row going further away. But the idea is that there are certain techniques that work that will help you find the mathematical construction of it. So it's hard to do it from the side there because it's at a funny angle if I stay all the way over here. So sometimes I have to kind of get in front of it. Kind of go double check, looks pretty level. I'm making sure that this little intersection, like a little X where it hits, that's the back. I've got a couple more. Looks like I got it right here. And then here's another. Right here's where I'm worried about, that little intersection. It's getting smaller and smaller. Now, right now, if I finish, that doesn't look right. The back row shouldn't be bigger than the row next to it. That's because I forgot about this one. Look at this little intersection there. Can't forget about it. Remember, it's kind of guiding you with these guidelines. My pencil needs to be sharpened a little bit. It's hard to get a precise line. All right, so it has shown me large, getting a little bit smaller at a time, medium area, kind of like foreground, middle ground, and then background, shrunk towards the horizon line. Now the only other thing I'm going to do to this will be, I'll finish out what looks like a thickness and then I'll stop. We won't do any kind of shading or anything like that. We'll save that. I'm going to drop some verticals straight down from this corner and that corner, and I'm going to make them the same depth or thickness. Doesn't matter to me what thickness you choose. Let's say I do, looks like about 1 inch. As long as they're the same on both sides, that's what matters. Okay, so I'm going to bring it down. Now, of course, I could use my ruler for that. In fact, I encourage that. Drop it straight down. We typically, want to let the ruler help you with this so we don't have that freehand to look at. You'll get plenty of chance to freehand later on. And then I'm going to connect. And I want to make sure it's all wonky. I want to make it look like it's parallel. So sometimes I have to kind of eyeball it to make sure it is. I think I got it. All right, so the illusion with no shading is that we have like a wall dropping down, and then we have a checkerboard kind of pattern grid falling back in perspective. And we'll stop right there for today.